Other yellow hat guy here, back with another video. And I really don't know how to make this video. I've thought about making this video for a while. By a while, I mean 2 days. And I first heard the news and I was like, these things happen. It's how numb I've become with these news articles of these mass shootings. This time, however, hits close to home because it's within my community, the gaming community. Now, for a while now, several years, video games have gotten a bad rap in terms of, simulating violence, therefore influencing kids and the youth to partake in senseless violence. Meanwhile, we have, movies and music and all kinds of other stuff that, if you're going to make that argument, could have a greater or somewhat similar type of impact on people as well. But that's not what this video is about. It's also not a video about gun control. I'm not trying to get too political, but at the same time, this video has to be made. I have to say something. Right or wrong, you don't have to like my opinion, but I need to put it out there because I'm tired of hearing stories like this. That being said, you had a gunman come in Jacksonville at a Madden tournament. And I don't know if that was sponsored by EA or not, but it sounds like these things are sponsored by somebody, maybe EA, because this scumbag who I won't give any recognition towards, no name. I wish people like that die nameless. I don't like that the news outlets even give attention to the profile of these douchebags. And I believe you me, I want to use way more colorful language, but I want this message to be clear without being as vulgar as possible. This guy loses the tournament and decides to take out his frustrations on some other people. Only 2 people died, fortunately, but 2 people dying is more than enough. You had about 10 people injured. The gunman turned the gun on himself, and it took authorities a while to figure out just exactly what happened. Now, this guy evidently was a Bills fan, so, you would think that being a Bills fan, you'd be used to disappointment. Sorry, I had to go there. But evidently he won a tournament a couple years back, and maybe that got to his head. How he didn't have detected issues prior, I don't know. How you get through life this far, I don't want to speculate. You instantly want to go to people being bullied, right? Because all the way back to Columbine, you're like, oh, these kids were bullied and that's why they're lashing out. Now you have kids nowadays who just, you don't know what their issues are, and they're just going ahead and doing crazy stuff like this, and you'll never know because they don't leave notes. Or maybe they do, maybe they just want attention and they're not getting it elsewhere, so they do these things. But I'm really angry, I'm really pissed off by this news. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it was Call of Duty or something like that. And, on Xbox Live, these guys call each other all kinds of names under the sun. And maybe this guy had enough of it and wanted to meet these guys in person. And, pit, pat, boom. It was in one of these shooter games, Fortnite, I don't know. That's where my thoughts were. You try to rationalize these things and say, okay, what was the motive? This makes sense, but no one knows what this is. But that's not so much about this either. Condolences to the families. I forgot the individuals' names already. I know one of them had a handle, True Boy, something like that. If you're kin to this person or, watching, my condolences to you and your family. There's another gentleman. And they're just having fun. These tournaments pay a lot. I read somewhere up to $80,000 for one of these tournaments. Some of these guys were actually in the Madden games. So, maybe people were jealous of that. And this guy was one of those people. I really don't know. I'm still trying to process. I'm trying to make sense. Maybe a year or two ago, I can't remember. I want to say 2 years ago, you had Christy Grimmie, who is a very talented singer, very into video games, into Zelda. Nintendo was working with her, and some crazed fan comes in and removes her from this life. As an entertainer myself, one of my fears is being out in a public place playing Pokemon and somebody upset that one of their gyms was taken or having problems with people and they want to do crazy things like that. I meet hundreds of people, and usually that thought doesn't cross my mind. You got a couple people that might stand out, but a lot of people have social anxiety disorders, and I meet them and try to, accommodate them. I try to meet them halfway so they can be comfortable and enjoy, the games we all know and love. I go to lots of these conventions. Some of them I'm volunteers at. Most recently I was at Raleigh SuperCon, and the prior year I was there volunteering. They wanted me to be door security, like some kind of, greeter or something. And you had Jason David Frank, Tommy, aka the Green Ranger, White Ranger on Power Rangers. He can defend himself. He's a martial artist. He does UFC and what have you. But some crazy guy was talking about killing him at the convention prior to coming to the SuperCon. So, security needed to be heightened there. But we're getting to a point where maybe it needs to be heightened all the time. Lots of these guys come in dressed up and they've got fake weapons, but are the props really being checked as thorough as we need to? I don't know. But that's something you shouldn't need to think about. Going to a Comic-Con, video game tournament, going to church, going to the movies, going to school. Those are safe places, safe zones. And I felt like maybe that should be understood. Maybe we're not hearing about it. Maybe we're hearing about it a lot more than we used to because of, the news and technology that we have now. But it feels like you didn't hear about stuff like this when I was a youth, when I was younger. So it's disheartening to hear about stuff like this now, to want to be a parent in this world at this time, feeling like some things are easier, but other things are not. And it's easy to say, oh, well, this is Florida. Let's all blame Florida because there's always disturbing stuff happening in Florida. But this is a kid who, he's a kid to me, but he's an adult, was a grown man who is from Baltimore, disgruntled, losing this tournament, and decides to, do the worst. But let me know what your thoughts are. We can have a civil, friendly discussion in the comments if you choose to. I know everybody's got different views on what to do. Well, if you got alarms and metal detectors and blah, 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 then who's got the gun? Who's going to protect you when you're inside? I don't know. I really don't care. I don't think this should be a conversation anyway, but I'm willing to have that. But it's better to have those metal detectors in place. If it's an inconvenience because you got to take longer to get in the convention, so be it. It's better than hearing stories like this. So, I don't know. I just think I made this video because that could have been me or one of my friends just enjoying their time at a convention, enjoying their time, with one of their hobbies, and their life is cut short because somebody wants to be an idiot. These idiots seep through the cracks, We've got a mental health issue disguised as a gun control issue. That's what some people would say. And if you want to look at what this is, it's like, oh, you let this be a person of color. It's all over the news. If it's somebody who's, from one of these foreign countries, it's a terrorist thing. But when it's one of these weird white kids, it's just another freak accident. And you want to look at the mental health, and you want to look at the proportion of white men in the country versus everyone else. It's like, well, that should make sense because there's more white guys with these firearms than anything else. But you don't hear about white women going to these places doing these things. So that's what I'm wanting to understand. And I'm not trying to make this a black-white thing. All I'm trying to say is, if the group that's for guns understands that there's a correlation here, then we need to have a plan to go after individuals who fit these profiles better. And if you're not willing to do that because you care more about your guns, then we need to have metal detectors in all of these places. And not everybody's wanting to do that, right? How many churches have metal detectors in them without being victimized to one of these attacks? You know, concerts have them. That's a no-brainer. Hey, we got to protect the artist. They bring in so much more money, but you and me and, you know, Shannon in the corner at the movies, we bring in money too, just not as much as 311 and the Offspring, right? So, if you're watching this and you work for some of these conventions and I'm at them, please think about having security there. And if you have security, great. Maybe increase it some. I'm not sure, but do something. Let's reassure people that they're safe. I'm not telling you guys to live in fear either. That's not how you should live your life. But just be conscientious of what's happening. Be on the lookout for more sketch people. Don't be hesitant to deny people entry. You know, if we're doing this because we're, you know, already worried about airplanes and people, you know, doing things there, we need to start doing that here on our own turf too, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. So anyway, I'm not going to ramble too much longer, but I just needed to say all that, and I wanted to give condolences to the victims. Video gamers, we're better than that. We're better than this, and let's not repeat these mistakes here. I will see you guys in the next video.